I wonder how real this is. I'm curious. The DNC left out a chapter of their quote unquote full autopsy that questioned why Biden ran for re election and pointed to the corrosive influence of a wealthy consultant class. I wonder, this feels like too on the nose to even be true. Ken Martin demanded or advocated for the release of a 2024 presidential autopsy, but then he commissioned it and then he didn't release it when it came out. And then eventually he did release it. And when it was released, it was dog shit. If Ken Martin oversaw the editing of it, like he deliberately excised it, Jesus Christ. Here's an article on it. Man, is this really real? That he actually was like, I can't release this until I cut out the part that's even remotely useful. Mr. Rivera said not only had Mr. Martin seen the chapter, but that the chairman had marked the binder with annotations and post-it notes and returned it to him via overnight mail from a California trip. The disputed What Happened chapter addressed several politically delicate subjects that were not included in the draft the party published in May. It questioned Biden's decisions to seek re-election in the first place. Is there a single point of failure for 2024? Perhaps it's the decision of the president to seek re-election instead of passing the torch. So they really edited it. Martin said the binder in question could not be located. This is embarrassing. It's embarrassing is a very light word for it. Author of Democrats' 2024 autopsy said party left out a key chapter. After months of resistance, the DNC relented this May and published a draft of its autopsy of what had gone wrong in the 2024 election. But according to the man who wrote the autopsy, there was a missing chapter. The chapter raised pointed questions that were notably absent from the draft that the party put out, both about President Joseph R. Biden Jr.'s ill-fated decision to run for re-election and the sway of an operative class that had become, quote, generationally wealthy off politics while steering Democratic strategy. Man, I wonder why Ken Martin would remove this one. Ken Martin, the guy who just a couple of days ago reportedly sweatily told his insiders at the DNC that if he goes down, they go down. Think he might be part of this generationally wealthy off politics consultant class, though I don't actually know how personally wealthy he is. He's definitely profiting off it. Turns out you can't really trust a self-diagnostic from a broken machine, huh? Wasn't this guy Ken Martin's friend who got fired because of how bad the report was? Well, the report may have been bad, but it seems the report also contained stuff that was omitted. So Ken Martin's friend included a chapter saying, there are some real problems in the DNC, and Ken Martin was like, nope, no daylight. Paul Rivera, the author of the autopsy, provided the chapter to the New York Times and spoke publicly for the first time about the party's effort to analyze the 2024 losses. Both he and party officials agreed the process had been messy and at times contentious. He said the draft released by the party had been compiled from work he submitted in November and December. But he said the draft omitted a chapter titled What Happened in 2024, which he said he had printed out and placed in a three-ring binder he personally handed to the party's chairman, Ken Martin, in January. Mr. Martin sharply disputed that account, denying in a written statement he was ever provided a missing chapter. Oh, it's a full-on conspiracy. I wonder why they would submit this in paper in an age where sending stuff over email leaves a very easy, obvious digital record of ongoing work. What possible reason could there be for Rivera having, I assume, been instructed to print this out and hand it in a three-ring binder where the info could potentially be lost? You know, if there was a digital record of this, it'd be a little bit easier to prove that Ken Martin was given it. This is false, Mr. Martin said. Quote, this alleged report section was not in any binder I reviewed. He added, if we had this in May, we would have released it with the rest of the report. He declined a request to be interviewed. It says in the article that all emails in the DNC are deleted after 30 days. Really? That's interesting. I wonder why they would do that. The disputed What Happened chapter addressed several politically delicate subjects. It questioned Biden's decision to seek re-election. It analyzed the party's loss of support among Hispanic, Black, Asian American, and Native American voters. And it pointedly raised the concern that most senior Democratic strategists in 2024 were, quote, financially secure and thus removed from the challenges facing many Americans. It is therefore possible the people in the room at the highest levels of 2024 decision-making misunderstood the mood and practicalities facing everyday America, the report read. The chapter did not name names of those who had become generationally wealthy, but Mr. Rivera wrote that those Democrats seeking change, quote, keep banging their heads up against a system proven to be inflexible and self-enriching. Whether there was a conscious decision on their part to bury the section for the purposes of hiding a paragraph, I don't know, Mr. Rivera said of the DNC. That's a them question. What I can tell you is that they had it, and they made a decision not to release it. Odds are this is Rivera covering his ass. Honestly, I disagree. Ken Martin has lied time and time again. He has lied over and over and over and over and over and over again to protect himself. We have a million reports right now from inside the DNC that he's like flop sweating, desperate to not get fired or replaced, pathetically like challenging everyone on everything, telling them they're going down with him. He's a fucking lunatic. He has no credibility whatsoever. This seems like exactly the sort of thing he would do. He's a weak man. He was probably approached by somebody else in the DNC who said, hey, if you release this report, please edit out the part where it says we're the problem. You wouldn't want to add that in. You wouldn't want to get replaced, would you? That feels illegal. Unfortunately, within the party, they can do basically whatever they want. Mr. Rivera said he had sent an earlier draft of the chapter electronically to another party official. Party emails are deleted after 30 days for security purposes. Oh, I'm sure. So there's no record of that email. Mr. Martin said a search of the party's files cannot locate such a document, and 3 other party officials who worked with Mr. Rivera on the autopsy said they had not previously seen the document in question. Oh, I'm sure. Martin's come under fire for his stewardship of a party that's recently reported more than $2 million in debt, while the RNC has $128.5 million in the bank. Any good reason for deleting emails? I could think of a few if I was part of an elite consultancy class that profited off of using the Democratic Party to lure voters while offering them nothing. If I was extremely contemptuous of the working class and of voters, I could think of a couple of not an uncommon OPSEC measure. Let me put it this way. Do you think that Mamdani feels a tremendous need to delete internal communications between him and people on his team? I really don't know what to say beyond the fact that they're all traitors. Just look at the DNC leadership. Who the hell are any of these fuckers, man? Well, they're very powerful, is the main thing. Just bureaucrats. Hey, one of them's a congresswoman. This turnout chart was in the missing chapter. I fully believe that Ken Martin was planning on releasing this autopsy, and then when he got the full thing, including the chapter which talked about the how out of touch and cynical the Democratic consultant class is, he was like, oop, can't release this. And when he was finally pressured into releasing it, he just deleted the chapter altogether. Fucking pathetic, man. Ken Martin becoming even more paranoid. Yeah, we saw this the other day. He really has absolutely no priority other than protecting his own job. What a worm, yeah. He was always a bad choice. Well, he wasn't the person PV wanted. We wanted some other fella. Fat and bald, I think? Who knows? It was so long ago. Some info on the missing chapter? Criticism of Joe Biden's virtual campaign in the missing DNC autopsy report chapter. Trump's mishandling of the pandemic cost him the presidency and elevated Joe Biden, but Democrats could not turn the pandemic failure into a broadly effective campaign for national change. Most campaigns on the Democratic side went virtual. Biden and Harris rarely interacted with voters on any meaningful scale, yet Republicans stayed on doors and holding in-person events. Yeah, there's no one of the biggest faults of the Democratic Party, one of the things that makes it weak, is that there's basically no entryism. You can get in pretty easily on any individual member of the Democratic Party's campaign team. If you are young and earnest, you can become a staffer for a person running for office. But to work in the DNC, they're all just, they're all the same Ivy-educated elite consultants shaking hands with each other. The Republican Party actually does a fair amount of outreach. They're willing to work with anyone and everyone, The RNC, they'll make deals with everyone, dog. They're out there making deals with YouTubers, right? But the DNC? Nah, they're incredibly out of touch. Yeah, they're all McKinsey types. God, remember that Pod Saves interview with the fucking Harris staffers? I feel like we need to go back and revisit it at some point to understand just how out of touch these people are. Really, really, really bad. They blamed everyone but themselves. Staffers repeatedly defending their work by noting Harris lost by less in the 7 swing states she campaigned in compared with the rest of the country. Don't worry, guys. She may have lost every swing state, but at least she did so by narrow margins. Remember when they said Jesus Christ couldn't beat Trump in 2024? I remember that. Was that them or was that Ken Martin? I remember that quote, but I don't see it directly. You're thinking of the Asted video with black voters? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm thinking of a different thing. We got to rewatch that video at some point. But you got to remember her staffers were given to her by Biden. I don't think they wanted her to win. Well, it wouldn't really matter because if Kamala Harris had actually won, I mean, it's not like she would have done anything. They're all empty. They're empty. They're not real people. On every level, it's empty people being led by. You were about to explode when you first heard it. Oh, I was genuinely losing my mind. Here it was like the first 5 minutes. Okay, we'll watch the beginning of this just to get a little. From this. Yeah. I don't care to rewatch this. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.